Radio. We're standing here with the first Aussie Ultimate Fighter winner. He is Robert Whittaker. He's fighting Mike Rhodes, June 28th, Ultimate Fight Night 43 in New Zealand. How you feeling today?
Yeah, good mate, good. It's good to come down.
Awesome.
Now Rob, you know, we just did a bit of a workout together. I don't know if you saw us over there in the corner. We were cutting it up. You know, there's some very complicated moves happening. What did you think of Submission Radio on the mat?
You know, all I saw was you just tapping people and
so yeah.
What a mess it is.
Alright, so the next Ultimate Fighter, you know, I'll probably guarantee the spot. But in all seriousness, Rob, you know, there's going to be the first fight, you know, the first Ultimate Fighter, not the Ultimate Fighter, Fight Night in New Zealand. You're a part of something, you're a part of history. How does it feel, man, to be a part of such an important event?
You know, there is no higher honour than representing your country in your country, you know what I mean? Yeah. And unfortunately, I missed out last December when the UFC came to Australia, and you know, I was doing on that. It wasn't anyone's fault, but the fact that I get to fight in, like, you know, essentially it's my hometown as well. You know, it's unbelievable. I'm a part of history and part of my homeland. And, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, your opponent, Mike Rhodes, tell us about the challenges that he brings to you.
Yeah, you know, Rhodes has his own set of unique skills, which, you know, you wouldn't be in the UFC if you weren't at caliber. He's got a really awkward fighting style, and he's going to bring what he brings, and I'm going to take it to him, and we'll see what happens.
Now, I think the UFC loves you, but they give you some difficult opponents. Court, McGee, Stephen, Thompson, obviously some difficult fights. You've had a couple of losses. This is going to be your third fight here. Tell us a little bit about the impact that that's had on you and your training, and how you're feeling going into this fight.
Yeah, you know, coming off back-to-back losses sucks, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, the UFC has thrown some tough dudes at me, and I want to keep throwing them tough dudes at me. I want those fights. You know, I've had my own trials and errors to go through during the camps of those fights. You know, I've made changes here, made changes there, and for better or worse, you know what I mean? And I really feel like I'm starting to get a grip on my fight style and my game and what I have to offer. And you know, I've taken back a step. I've taken all I've learned to back to my roots. You know what I mean? And I'm perfecting myself as a fighter. And you know, look out the next opponent, and the one after that, and the one after that. Man.
Yeah.
And just on those improvements, tell us a little bit specifically, what are some of the main things you worked on? As far as, you know, a lot of fighters, they will try to be well-rounded and complete. If you had to say something that, you know, maybe wasn't your strongest point that you've worked on, what's something like that?
You know, I think it's no secret that I worked a lot of wrestling. Australia doesn't have a huge wrestling background. So, you know, going overseas and training a lot of wrestling really improved my game. But then it's like a triangle. I was leaning too far that way and leaving out other aspects of the game. And then the camp after that, I'd lean too far another way, such as boxing, and then I'd lose another aspect that I came up with. And I think this last game has just been, you know, putting this mess of skills and talents and everything together in just one really happy collage.
Let me just ask you something also. You mentioned wrestling. You know, when we were going to high school, we did things like badminton or, you know, basketball, whatever it was. Australia doesn't have wrestling, which, you know, obviously the Americans have that advantage over us. They're doing since they're, you know, early high school. Do you think that's something that, you know, Australia should work towards, maybe incorporate wrestling, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or something more, you know, fun and dynamic?
100%. I think, you know, all the Olympic sports should be offered as a school curriculum activity. You know, it's the fundamental skill sets, you know, of everything. You know, and I remember back in high school doing surfing. I'm using that a lot now, but it's yeah, you know, who can say I had a lot of fun in high school? We're different, but we're no less better.
And speaking of being different, you know, obviously you are one of the first, you know, Australian Ultimate Fighters. Tell us a little bit about what's life like, you know, after you won the tournament and you became an Ultimate Fighter. What did life become like for you? Obviously, you're an ambassador for the UFC down here in Australia. You're representing this great game, EA UFC here in Sydney today. Tell us a little bit about that.
About the game, or?
No, just about the life, but maybe a little bit about the game, you know.
You know, life after the Ultimate Fighter, you know, winning the show and being able to make fighting my career is huge. It's a complete life changer, and it's like it's a quick access pass to straight into it being a career, whereas before it was like work during the day, train at night, and sleep when you can, you know. And yeah, it's given me so much more time to train and devote to training and resting my body for training something more.
Yeah.
You know, it offers its own hardships, you know, but I don't think it's any harder or any easier than an electrician's job. You know, electricians have to get up every day and work away. I think actually that's harder, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's huge, and to be able to come out here and look at the game and the sport growing, the new UFC game, it's come so far. Like, not only has the game come so far, but the sport itself to the point where it's, it's everywhere. And, it's great to see that it's evolving and growing in Australia. It's where we need it. We're a little slow to start, but once we get rolling, it's very hard to stop us.
And just on the game itself, obviously, me and Cass were up there. Some feelings got hurt, some people got beat. I don't want to mention any names. A couple of people walked out of there, they'll never be the same again. No point in Cass. Tell us a little bit about this game. Me and Cass, blown away by it, just upstairs having a play. We can't say too much, can't show too much, but just from your personal experience today, tell us about this game, man.
Yeah, I played the UFC game upstairs for a little bit, and I think I got chinned 10 times in about half hour, and I was like, what is going on? The game's evolved to a new level, mate. I can't even express it. It's so realistic. You can't just go in there and button bash anymore. The good old days are gone.
Yeah.
And, if you leave your chin out there, as I was, you just get clipped and it's game over. But it's so realistic. It's absolutely mind-boggling how realistic. It's like watching the fights on the weekend. You know what I mean? The fighters act the same. They move the same. They have the same habits in their fighting style. It's really, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Obviously, no turbo controllers with this game. The other thing, speaking of real, you mentioned, or I want to talk to you about the Ultimate Fighter. That's something that you were a part of. It's a big deal. You're the first winner. Certain people, they get portrayed differently on the show. Tell us about your experience on the Ultimate Fighter and what it was like.
Yeah, the Ultimate Fighter is a funny place. They really try and take the fun out of it and then put you in a really uncomfortable position to the point where it starts to affect your fighting. And it was the greatest opportunity I've ever been given, and but it was hard. And I think it's a funny twist to put it in the game as a fun aspect side, and all happy, smiling, going through the house, winning the house. But,
Chris Lieben isn't peeing on your pillow in the game. I think that's confirmed.
Exactly.
And the latest installment of the Ultimate Fighter, Canada versus Australia. Team Australia had a bit of a difficult time. Obviously, you guys did quite well. You had a lot of great talent, but Australia really struggled against Canada because obviously the wrestling. Wrestling was a big focal point here. Obviously we spoke about introducing wrestling into our nation more often, but with some of those fighters had a bit of a rough run. What's your recommendation for them now that they're finished on the show?
To all the boys out there who just come off the show, it was a hard fight. You had hard opponents. They represented the best of Canada, and it's hard. No one can walk through your shoes and understand what it's like. But the worst thing to do would give yourself a break. I know you want it, but if you really want to make this a career, you need to get out there. You need to train harder, and you need to take some fights. You need to keep fighting, and you need to keep winning, and you need to show that the UFC want you regardless of what happens in the show.
Some great advice there.
Now, something that we like to do with all our guests, including yourself, is the Submission Radio Tap Out round. It's the sexiest thing going around, as voted by GQ magazine, allegedly. What we do is we ask a few fun questions, and you answer them more or less quickly by word association. Are you ready?
So I just like rapid fire.
Pretty
rapid
much, yeah.
fire. So you got to be ready. It's going to be coming from both sides this time.
All right, hit me up.
All right, cool. You're stuck on an island. You can only take 3 things with you. What are those things?
Food. Weird things that come into my head: a shovel and a bucket.
Alright.
So we're not going to come on the island with you, because it seems like you'd get rid of us. But that's okay, that's alright. We've had some weird answers from guys like Ken Shamrock and stuff last week. Okay, so now Robert, what's your favourite chick flick? Alright, give us the truth.
A time traveler's
What?
wife of a
Not that I've seen it.
Okay, yeah.
British Jones Zari's popular choice, but I'm not going to judge it. It's okay.
Okay, growing up, who was your idol in MMA?
Goku. I
I was ready for that one.
Rob, finish the sentence for us. People who don't know that I...
like video games.
We already knew that. Okay,
You mentioned
Warhammer.
okay, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not going to make fun of Warhammer again.
And tell us, so far, your biggest career achievement, what would that be?
Winning the Ultimate Fighter. Definitely. That's the achievement there.
Yeah,
You've already achieved more than we've ever achieved in our whole lives, guys. Robert, you want to mention a couple of sponsors before we finish up?
Yeah, just a big shout out to my head coach Henry Perez and PMA, as well as my ASN, my supplement sponsors. Yeah.
Scott Hogg.
There you go.
All the boys that help me train. Yeah, you guys know who you are. Thank you so much.
We trained with him today, so I guess we're in that group now. Guys, check out the YouTube channel, YouTube/submission radio AU. And Robert, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.